8 ways purity culture convinced me I could not possibly be a lesbian. Spoiler alert! It failed. Number 1, purity culture tells girls they need to obsess about straight sex all the time because if they don't, the men will explode. Don't do this, it'll make men horny. Don't do that, it'll make men horny. Don't sit like that. Don't talk like that. Change the way your voice sounds. When your whole life revolves around controlling men's sexuality, it's pretty easy to think you actually are interested in it. Which leads me to number 2. Purity culture reduces human attraction to thousands of legalistic rules. When you've spent your entire life being told that there's 1,000,001 things you can do to create this burgeoning monster of lust inside a man, and also a few things you can do to stop it, it's pretty easy to view romantic relationships as just an equation. Yeah, it turns out when you're actually attracted to someone, it doesn't feel like that. I'd see a guy and think he was kind of cute, and then I'd think like, oh, well, he does read his Bible a bit. I guess that's attractive. He's very godly. Turns out desperately wanting the most godly boys to notice you in a society where a godly man is social currency does not mean you like men. Which leads me to number 3. Marrying a man is just a normal part of planning a successful future in a lot of evangelical culture. In many churches, women can't be pastors, but if your husband's already a pastor, you can be a bonus pastor. If you wanted any sort of power or notoriety at all, you either had to become a contemporary Christian worship leader or get married to a man. Also sex. You can't have sex without a man. The point is, planning a wedding is just as natural as planning where you're going to go to college in certain Christian cultures. It's just what you do. You don't have the same level of value or respect without it. Number 4, purity culture normalizes traumatic relationships. How many times did you hear a testimony in church that was like, my husband has made some poor choices. He has committed crimes. The Cuban Missile Crisis, he was involved in that. But I stayed with him because I love Jesus. I mean, so much of what we were taught was like, husbands suck and sex is the worst. So when I grew up and did not particularly enjoy romantic relationships with men as much as you would think, and I didn't really have romantic relationships, but I had like mild crushes, which as we previously mentioned, were largely self-generated. I was just like, that's just how relationships are. Men are gonna really annoy you. There is no option to be in a romantic relationship with someone that you're not constantly a bit peeved by. Turns out there actually is. Even for straight people, hating your spouse is not normal. And it's definitely not some sort of godly sacrifice. I mean, I'm sure some of the people I grew up around were in very happy marriages, but you hear enough stories about like, I chose to follow Jesus and submit to my husband's terrible failures, and it grates on you after a while. What number are we on? 5? 5! They say that being gay is a choice. So I said I will simply choose not to be gay because gay people get AIDS and abortions and probably do marijuana and steal things. It was a very slippery slope mentality. It doesn't make a ton of sense now that I thought if I became gay, I would probably end up getting an abortion. But it was just like, well, once you do one sin, you're just going to end up doing all of them because you just get the momentum. That is a different topic. The point is, I wanted people to love me and I wanted to not be in hell. And I wanted to be a good person, so I just chose not to be gay. And as we've already covered, it didn't work. I look like a butch potato. Like, come on. Not like hard butch, like gentle butch. Like, I'm like 60% butch, 30% femme, 10% Muppet. My personal style is a disaster, as is my living quarters. You know what? I take that back. I look amazing. Not rich or competent or clean, but amazing nonetheless. 6, purity culture makes good men into gods. So much of my life I was told men are constantly frothing at the mouth When they see a bra strap, they're always thinking about sex. It's a constant, real plague in the back of your head, like the Macarena. When you go to a dance and they play the Macarena and you hear it for days later, that's men, but sex. They can't turn it off if you wear leggings. They have a little bit of a seizure, but instead of like a physical thing, it's a sin. It's a sin seizure. Because men can't function if they can see the outline of your boobies. That's why you have to wear cardigans everywhere. That's why they're called card-agains, because you're wearing them again and again and again. Sure, you got heat stroke, but a man would have gotten spiritual heat stroke otherwise. Better for a woman to be physically hot than for a man to notice she is metaphorically hot. Back to my point. So when you meet a man who's not a sex werewolf constantly frothing at the mouth and the jeans, you think, wow, I've met Prince Charming. No, you've met Carl. Carl might be a great guy, but all you know about him is just that he's decent. He doesn't constantly sexually objectify women all the time. This happened to me. I met a man, let's call him Decent Carl, and I thought, I will never, ever find someone else who makes me feel the way that Decent Carl makes me feel. Fun fact, the way that Decent Carl made me feel was like a whole person who didn't need a man to give me permission to be happy or independent or strong. It's ironic. I met a man who was like, women don't need men to control them. And I was like, I need this man to control me so I can have this independence. It's ironic, but I did not really process the thoughts. I just felt what I thought was true love. It wasn't true love. It was desperation. How many women have settled for Decent Carl when they could have gotten fantastic Bjorn? Nothing wrong with being a decent Carl. Maybe you're fantastic Carl to someone else, but it doesn't mean that he's fantastic Carl to every woman. Purity culture lowers the bar for men, making them constant sex addicts. So when you meet a man who's the bare minimum, you think, this is the one. I was like, I can't be a lesbian. Sometimes men are really nice to me and then I become desperately obsessed with them. Honey, that's not love. That's needing a better group of people around you. When autonomy is a commodity, any respect a man gives you is going to hit like a drug. 7, purity culture portrays not being interested in boys as a virtue. Oh, you enjoy talking to your boyfriend more than reading Ecclesiastes? Kind of sounds like he stole the joy of the Lord from you. Perhaps he is an idol sent by the devil. You stopped to read messages from your boyfriend while you were changing dozens of poopy diapers in the nursery. It's pretty clear God isn't your priority anymore. Not that there's anything wrong with changing diapers. I don't want to take quote unquote women's work and be like, that's degrading, because it's not. I'm just saying church has a way of encompassing so many different things. And if you're not showing interest in all those different things as much as you're showing interest in someone who really likes you and is trying to take care of you, a lot of times it's portrayed as you just don't love Jesus as much. So when I wasn't as interested in boys as the girls around me, I was like, well, I do take my religion very seriously. No, I'm gay. Finally, number 8. Purity culture often, not always, but often justifies the constant objectification of women's bodies by kind of just saying that everyone's attracted to women all the time. Dana Gresh has this book that's called Secret Keeper or Secret Keeper Girl. There's several books with the Secret Keeper. There was an original and then there was an updated version. I think there's a moms and daughters book. It's under that umbrella. Anyway, I read one of those and it started off by talking about allure, women's power that makes everyone want to look. And she used the example of if there is a woman on a billboard, statistics show that people just look at the billboard more than if it's a hot man, even if they're girls. So we know that everyone's just enraptured with women's beauty. It couldn't possibly be that women are told they're never good enough, and so they spend tons of their lives gazing in grief and jealousy at the women who are. I mean, it's a matter of seconds, but you walk by Victoria's Secret and you're like, oh, Oh, my thighs don't look like that. Oh, gosh darn it. I haven't done research on it. I'm just pointing out that her argument was flawed. I don't know why it is that women look at billboards more, but there's a lot of reasons other than the idea that women have a magical God-given power that makes everyone stare all the time. Dana Gresh wasn't the only one who taught this either. It was just this idea of like women are so gorgeous. God made them so special. So we better not see their thighs. So when I saw another girl and I wanted to melt into a puddle because she was just so beautiful, I thought everyone's doing that. And the men are just so self-controlled as to not show it because they are obviously experiencing this sensation 1,000 times stronger than I am. Yes, I want to melt into a puddle and really hope she'll even just brush against my hand. But obviously everyone feels that way. So whenever I felt attraction to another girl, it was hardwired in my brain for me to say, this is proof that men's lives are super hard and I'm making things miserable for them because girls are hot. Therefore, men also notice that girls are hot and they notice it 10 times more than we do. So my body is a problem. Looking back now, I realize that's so messed up that every time I had a cute little childhood crush, it was somehow turned into, in my head, my body is shameful and embarrassing and a problem. But this is what purity culture does. It makes your entire life revolve around sex and then punishes you for almost every possible expression of your sexuality, whether that's an emotional expression, a physical expression, a social expression, whatever you do, chances are it's wrong and you're horrible for having any sort of sexual nature, but also you're nothing without it. Lo and behold, I am still gay. Subscribe if you are also gay or for other reasons. Goodbye.